Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Labour Minister Leroy Batiste has asked for public patience as a new law moves forward to protect the union rights and job agreements of former Petrotrin employees working for successor companies like Heritage Petroleum and Paria Fuel Trading. Of course, today's Labor Day. But all we can really celebrate is the fact that laborers in Trinidad and Tobago always end up being messed up by governments, whether it's the UNC or the PNM. Much more under the PNM than the UNC. I mean, yeah, than the UNC do. But it does happen under the UNC as well to an extent. The legislation ensures that collective agreements remain valid and that the Oil Fields Workers Trade Union retains representation with the rules backdated to December 1st, 2018. So this sounds like good legislation, of course. The bill passed the Senate with government and select independent support despite opposition and some independent senators abstaining from the vote. So, you know, when we always say that the independent senators are PNM, well, some appear like they probably really are. Others, maybe they do lean on the PNM side, but they do support the government at times, especially when it's something that can really benefit the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's in spite of them being appointed by a former, very significant or prominent member of the PNM, our president, Christine Kangaloo. Minister Batiste emphasized that the legislation rectifies previous administrative decisions and aims to protect worker rights, fairness, and dignity. Let's just hope it really does. And it's not just a set of pappy show. But, I mean, we will see. In due time, we shall know for sure. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar says the government is moving to correct what it describes as an injustice workers through the miscellaneous provisions bill now before the parliament. You know what's an injustice as well, Prime Minister Kamla? You changing up your words completely and just don't care about it. Telling citizens that you were going to reduce fines, you were not going to make life harder for them, and then came and didn't just double fines, but you double fees, duties, and all kind of things, and made excuses for it. And to top it off, when citizens are protesting to cry out for justice, you are calling them agitators and stuff. People have lost trust in you, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. That doesn't mean that this legislation isn't good. It is. I'm just reminding citizens that they pretend to care, but do they really? Do they really care? Do they really have respect for us as we, the people, the true government of Trinidad and Tobago, the employers of these individuals who think they are kings and queens and I don't know, the law, like how the Alistair Guevara acts as though he is the law of the land. Speaking on the eve of Labor Day, before Friday's sitting of the House of Representatives, the Prime Minister said the legislation will restore successor rights for the Oil Fields Workers Trade Union at Paria Fuel Trading Company, Warakara Refining Company Limited, and Heritage Petroleum. So, of course, she mentioned Warakara Refinery Company Limited because they do have the intention of reopening the refinery. And I hope that they do. Mismanagement took place mostly under the PNM. Losses were far more significant under the PNM than under the UNC. But nevertheless, the refinery is important. And I always say this, and this is not about UNC or PNM. As long as you manage a business properly, it will prosper. Even if it is you have to reduce the size of it, restructure and so forth, fine, do that. And of course, while reopening, it may not reopen in the same capacity that it was when it closed, I believe in 2018. Nevertheless, it is important. And if it wasn't important, Emperor Thanos Rowley wouldn't have been trying to sell the refinery. I keep saying this over and over again to the PNM patriots outside there. Supporters of individuals like Zami Young, who opposes the reopening of Petrotrin. If it really isn't viable, if it isn't something that can be profitable, why is it that you're about trying to sell it to some company in India and from Nigeria as well? Why? Come on, people. Common sense will tell you. Yes, there were a lot of problems and issues with Petrotrin. Billions of dollars were lost. But that's because of mismanagement and faulty projects and stuff. Projects that failed and cost billions of taxpayers' dollars. But at the end of the day, it is something that is really necessary. And it will, once managed properly, it will bring in a lot of foreign revenue, a lot of US dollars that we do, in fact, need.
Trinidad and Tobago Weather Report Friday, June 19, 2026. The weather in Trinidad and Tobago for Friday, June 19, 2026 will be partly cloudy, hazy, and at times breezy with temperatures peaking at 31 degrees Celsius. According to the official regional outlook from the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service, the atmosphere will feature a mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust. Showery spells are expected primarily during the morning period, transitioning into standard afternoon heat intervals. There is a low 20% chance of isolated thunderstorm activity. Conditions will settle by the evening, leaving behind only a few lingering showers. Marine conditions moderate, open seas with wave heights ranging from 1.5 to 2.0 meters. Sheltered areas will stay below 1.0 meter but can turn choppy during sudden downpours. Wind speed breezes will flow from the east-northeast to east-southeast at 8 to 40 km per h. Humidity levels spanning from 65% up to 95% maximum. Heat index, the real field temperature, is expected to climb up to a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius. Daylight schedule sunrise is at 5:40 a.m. and sunset will occur at 6:27 p.m.
Regional news now. President Dr. Irfan Ali on Tuesday reaffirmed that the income tax threshold will be increased to $200,000 before the end of the government's current term, describing the measure as part of a broader effort to improve the lives of working class Guyanese. I know I probably sound redundant when I'm saying this, but he's like one of the only leaders I'm seeing nowadays that appears. I don't trust anybody, especially after how Trump failed America and Israel after doing a good job at the beginning. And Kamala did a good job back in 2010 to 2015, in spite of certain errors being made. Irfan Ali, thus far, this is his second term in office, and he continues to serve his people quite well. I do see people that are that make negative comments on Guyana Chronicle page. So I'm not saying that he's perfect. I don't believe that he makes all the right decisions. But most of the times when I get news off of Guyana Chronicle and any of the Guyanese news outlets, a lot of the times it's good stuff that is coming out from Guyana. I know I don't really have that many more again, but I used to have quite a few viewers from Guyana. You all can feel free to comment on my news reports and tell me what you think about your president's performance and the performance of the PPP Civic Party in general. Addressing the Enmore Martyrs commemoration ceremony, the president said the People's Progressive Party Civic PPPC administration has consistently worked to raise the standard of living for workers through higher wages, expanded social services, and increased opportunities. You see the difference, people? You're not increasing taxes, because taxes, when you increase taxes, people, and fees and fines and duties and so forth, all you're doing is taking out more money from citizens' pockets. You're reducing their purchasing power. You understand? And that's exactly what, sadly, the UNC has begun to do, even though they did not do that all the years in the past. We said that before the end of this term, that new base will be $200,000 upon which our workers will stand $200 tax-free, President Ali told the gathering. Drawing parallels between the struggles of the Enmore Martyrs and the challenges faced by workers in more recent years, the president said successive PPPC governments have sought to address long-standing issues affecting ordinary citizens. And that's what the UNC used to do in the past. It's only now we're telling you they're doing things that adversely affecting the poor man more than anybody else. You're going behind the people and they're not making a little, I think it's what coconut oil and all, right? He noted that while workers fought for dignity, recognition, and better conditions 78 years ago, more recent struggles have centered on job security, improved salaries, pensions, and access to essential services. According to President Ali, the government has delivered on promises to raise the income tax threshold, increase salaries. So you see that? You're getting a better salary and also raising the threshold for the income tax. So therefore, even after the salary raise, you still may not have to end up paying income tax. Of course, if you cross the 200,000 threshold, then you will have to pay. Fair is fair. So increase the salaries, improve pensions, and expand investments in infrastructure, healthcare, and education. We ain't anything about improve pensions in Trinidad and Tobago, though. But I can understand that. UNC did inherit a totally collapsed economy due to PNM's mismanagement. So I don't expect those kind of things to take place anytime soon. If they were given a second term after 2013, maybe. But you see, Kamla's arrogance getting in the way. Kamla, you are the reason for the downfall of the UNC, sadly. Your attitude. The struggle was for a higher threshold. We delivered, President Ali said. The struggle was for higher salaries. We delivered. You know, like how UNC like to say promise made, promise kept. Yeah, well, they made some promises they didn't keep, some significant promises. UNC I'm talking about, not Irfan Ali. The struggle was for better pension. We delivered. The struggle was for better infrastructure. We delivered, he said. And the thing about it is, people, this is not about any campaign, no. He just won an election a few months ago. So this is just about serving the people and showing the people that, listen, as president, I actually do care. I do want to fulfill my promises. Oh, Lord, why it is we can't have a whole lot more leaders in this Caribbean region like President Dr. Irfan Ali. And as I said before, I am not worshiping him. I worship God and God alone. I'm just saying he's doing a much better job than a lot of the other leaders within our region. Some people might disagree with me, but such is life. Government workers in Jamaica are to receive mandatory training in artificial intelligence as part of efforts to improve public sector efficiency and modernize service delivery. I wonder if that is mandatory here in Trinidad and Tobago yet. Of course, this is important. We are in an era of advanced technology. Just be careful, people. Remember that AI is going to play a major role in the final 7-year tribulation period under the Antichrist system and rule and one world government. So just be careful. I utilize it as well, but just be careful. Trevor Forrest, senior advisor to the minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for science, technology, and special projects, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, outlined the initiative during a plenary session on harnessing diaspora talent to build Jamaica's AI and digital future at the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James on Wednesday. Coral protection. The MSC Foundation and the Perry Institute for Marine Science have launched efforts to combat stony coral tissue loss disease affecting reefs near Ocean Cay. Scientists surveyed 4 reefs and treated 253 corals with antibiotic paste aimed at slowing the spread of the disease. I hope they find a way to actually stop it completely and not just slow the spread down. Officials say monitoring and follow-up treatments will continue as part of broader efforts to protect coral reefs in the Bahamas and the wider region. Somebody commented, but I guess that is probably not something that is practical to do. Remove all the infected coral. But maybe, as I said before, I don't know, slowing it down might stop it at the end, at some point in time. Let's just hope so. Let's hope they know what they're doing. I love nature. I love the environment. I love to see all these videos with coral reefs and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll ever go diving to see it for myself, but I definitely love to watch it in the videos. International news now. A Ukrainian drone strike hit a Moscow oil refinery during a massive aerial attack, sending the intact roof of a storage tank flying through the air, sounding like something you'll see in a movie. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirmed that multiple drones reached the facility, which is located in the southeastern part of the capital city. Despite the large explosion, the storage tank roof appeared to stay in one piece as it was blasted into the sky. I guess they could just put it back on then. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky called the refinery strike fully justified. He explained that Ukraine is intentionally targeting facilities that fuel the Russian military. The attack aimed to disrupt the fuel supplies that supports Russia's ongoing war efforts. And remember, people, those that despise Ukraine, and I'm not saying that Ukraine doesn't have issues like with the labs and stuff, and I'm not saying that Zelensky is perfect either. He probably is very well corrupt. That doesn't give the tyrant Putin, the rights to invade a sovereign nation. And it's the same thing that happens with Israel. Israel defends themselves from attacks from Hezbollah, Houthis, the Ayatollah regime directly, and then people, and the Hamas, proxies of the Ayatollah regime. And then everybody condemns Israel for defending themselves. Even Trump now joined the QAnon far-right bandwagon, criticizing Israel for defending their country and criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu. But God is on Israel's side. God is probably on the side of Ukraine to an extent as well, because they were forced into this war. Putin started it. Nevertheless, people, we don't know this might continue for years upon years again. But I know for sure with Israel, read Ezekiel 38, and we know what is going to take place in Ezekiel 38. I love to remind my listeners about Ezekiel 38. The kings of the north, led by most likely Russia, the Prince of Rush, right? The kings of the north will unite. They talk about Turkey, Iran, Russia, and others to invade Israel. God will set a trap, will actually lure them. He will put a hook in their jaw and turn them around and draw them towards Israel, because he knows their intentions. And then, of course, he will utterly destroy them. I'm not saying that all the nations will be destroyed. Those who are attacking Israel will be utterly destroyed by the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Israel's affairs analyst Dan Perry strongly criticized the Trump administration during a discussion with Natasha Kurtchuk, calling it deeply concerning that Washington is framing Israel as a dependent subordinate. Exactly, but it shows. I've been concerned about that for a long time, people. Every time you hear Trump says, I'm giving them the green light, and the media, even the conservative media says, America give Israel the green light, it shows that they believe as though they are in control of Israel, that they are the actual king, the supreme leader of Israel, and that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was just their servant. He argued that portraying Israel as a funded puppet of a vassal state is completely false and highly damaging to the nation's international standing. Exactly. And this is why I've been saying that for a long time now. Israel needs to cut ties. Not completely. You want to still have diplomatic ties, but stop depending on America in any form or fashion. Stop it completely. This pushback follows intense public friction between the two countries, particularly after the White House openly pressured Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding the timing and scope of regional military operations. Trump is a hypocrite, because if he was targeted by anyone, no one would have been able to stop him from sending his military to destroy those areas where the rockets were fired from. Perry explained that such framing creates a dangerous and incorrect global perception that Israel cannot act as an autonomous power without American authorization. You see what I'm just saying there? And I said it. You're always hearing it in the news. And even Amr Safati made errors in the past of allowing and condoning that when he hears about America gave Israel the green light to attack Hezbollah, or America gave Israel the green light to retaliate against Iran. Israel never needed any permission from America in order to be able to defend themselves. And that is where Netanyahu even faulted as well. Because he should have said from the very beginning, I don't need any green light from you. I appreciate that you support my efforts to defend my country, but I don't need your green light. You cannot tell me when I can or cannot defend my country and my people. He emphasized that while the alliance remains critical, treating a sovereign ally like its client state misrepresents the reality of the relationship and threatens Israel's independent strategic authority. Exactly. Critics within Israel have echoed these concerns, warning that the political rhetoric coming out of the United States risks leaving the country looking isolated and overly constrained by Washington's own political calculations. I hope Mike Huckabee decides, you know what, enough is enough, I'm resigning, I'm no longer part of this Trump administration. In his mind, he's probably doing it because that he believes that was God's calling for him. So he's over, because he continues to stand with Israel. So what did was, he says, Israel had a major role in the founding of, the Jewish people had a major role in the founding of America as a nation and becoming prosperous. When you bless Israel, God will bless you, your people, and your nation.
During the Gaza war, there was an uptick in U.S. munition supply and weapons supply to Israel. That can't be denied, and I haven't done the numbers. But if you look at historically, up until 2 years ago, this is false. I mean, Israel has a $500 billion economy. The U.S. aid to Israel, which many people think needs to end because Israel's too wealthy, is a few $billion. The weapons purchases are a circular agreement essentially subsidizing the American weapons industry because Israel gets loans that are conditioned on Israel buying U.S. weapons, and Israel's the laboratory for that. I'm not saying America doesn't help Israel. Primarily, America helps Israel by giving it a diplomatic umbrella, security cover at the UN Security Council, and in general by allying with it in such a way that the world is deterred from messing with Israel because the world's superpower is on Israel's side. But when you look at the Trump administration clearly projecting that Israel is a puppet and a vassal and is funded by the U.S., which is transparently false, that is very disturbing when, as we've been dancing around all night, we really have been left with only Trump as the major global supporter, although...
Well, he wasn't wrong about that.
I have to... Oh, and one thing.
Very quick, because we have to move on to our next story.
About the current government of Israel. Elections are coming up in October. A new government that projects a moderate face to the world might be able to execute an azimuth correction.
Bible quote of the day. Mark 10:35-45. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came up to him and said to him, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. And he said to them, What do you want me to do for you? And they said to him, Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory. Jesus said to them, You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or to be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized? And they said to him, We are able. And Jesus said to them, The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized, but to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared. And when the 10 heard it, they began to be indignant at James and John. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.